This is Tikva from Homeopathy for Humanity. Sanjay, say hi.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Sanjay from Homeopathy for Humanity, and I'm a homeopathic practitioner practicing in India since last 30 years.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to give such information about myself, but I'm old enough to have been doing the same. We today have a special guest speaker. Her name is Brenda Tobin. She is from Massachusetts, and I think she lived in North Carolina. And now she is in Traverse City, Michigan, and she is a homeopathic vet. And she has 22 years of practice experience, and she has some information to share with us today. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Tikva, and thank you, Sanjay, for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. And I'm always excited to talk about homeopathy, especially for our animal friends. Thanks everybody for joining. So I thought that maybe I would do a little slideshow presentation, just showing some case studies. I am classically trained in homeopathy, so I do use, one remedy at a time, and I look at the animal's whole being. I look at the emotional, mental, and physical imbalances of that animal, and that helps me choose the correct remedy for them. Of course, I rely a lot on the caregiver of the animal to provide most of the information. So I always ask them to provide, more detail is better, right? So I was just going to start the slideshow, and then, any questions or anything. So
Sounds
just kind of play it
great.
by ear.
Yep,
Okay,
sounds
cool.
great.
All right, so let me get in here. So I'm going to have to share my screen.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. There we go. Everybody can see that, okay?
Mm-hmm. Looks like we're doing all creatures great and small.
Right. So I work with all species of animals. But I remember those books when I was a kid. I wanted to be a vet when I was a kid, and I'm glad that homeopathy found me. Okay, so I use the same principles as we do in human cases. So I just was talking about that. I look at, like with likes, and then use the remedies that are the totality of the animal's symptoms. So hold on a minute. I need bifocals. So I think I've got to look down and look at my thing. So we're going to just go over some case studies here. So this little girl, Leia, she came to me in this condition. I work remotely. So, and I have clients all over the world. So she came to me remotely. I very, very rarely see any clients face to face, actually. And I don't recall where she is. She's in the United States. And anyway, this is how the poor little girl presented to me. And she was very sick. She had a fever, and of course, all this inflammation. And I just wanted to show how I repertize a case. So I am also a student of George Vitaka's. So I use Vitaka's Compass as my software. And so I just wanted to show, because there's a lot of students on this call, right? So I wanted to show how I repertize the cases, and this is all for humans, right?
Even when we're not students, we're interested in people's repertorizations.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, true. So I look at, so everything that I repertize is for humans, and then I just kind of translate it over to animals. So for example, if there was a paw like a front paw, I would go to hand, right? And then if it was
Mhm.
rear paws, I would go to lower extremities. So this was my representation for this dog at that time. And her remedy was arsenicum, album, and this is her after. So just to go back, I mean, look at her belly and look at her belly before, how red it was, and then even her little face and her ears.
Yeah.
So
Oh, now she feels better.
so much better.
So much better.
Dad, can I ask a question in one of your rubrics? Sorry to interrupt.
No,
in
go
one
ahead.
of great, thanks. In one of the
Karina,
rubrics,
turn
you
on
had-
your camera.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there. In one of the rubrics, I saw that you have mouth thick sensation of right there at the bottom, or mouth thick tongue sensation.
Yeah, yeah.
How
Yep.
would you get that? Yeah, that's curious.
Yeah.
How would you?
Yep. So that was the owner was awesome, you know, at being an observer. And she said to me, she said, it's weird. It's like her tongue is really thick. And so I was looking and I was like, okay, wow, that's a rubric in here that I can add in. I only put it at the first degree because it wasn't as severe as, say, like look up at number 15, that's skin inflammation. I mean, she was screaming red, right? So so I added that in there, but that came from the owner herself. This dog is like her child. I mean, she really knows her dog and came up with that. And I think she said too, it felt like when she was looking at her that there was almost like a thick coating on her tongue as well. So
Oh, nice.
that's how I came with that. But you know, you get some owners that have zero input and you're trying to pull it out. Kind of your nap mirror owners, right? They're like, I don't know. So this cat here, his name is Jack. And they first came to me because he was really mean to the other cats in the house, really mean. And they'd have to lock him in his own room because he would be that mean to the other cats. Just attacking. So these are the rubrics that I put in for him. And he was a talker. He would meow a lot. A lot of my cases come to me, I would say 99% of my cases come to me where there's vaccinosis. So these animals are
Yeah.
really over vaccinated.
Right, especially like the rabies vaccine is supposed to be just really horrible.
It's horrible. It really is. So this here is an indoor cat who was heavily vaccinated, right?
Mhm.
So I'll talk a lot about vaccinosis with my clients. And luckily, you know, as a homeopath, we always go back in time. So we'll go back to when they first got their animal, and then we start connecting dots. And then we, you know, we'll go through the vaccine history. And that's when the people will have their aha moment and go, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, and this cat came to them declawed, and
Yeah,
that was another
trauma. Woo.
right.
Yeah, trauma.
So this cat, for this particular time that he saw me, he was stramonium, and it worked really well. Another time though, he came to me that she went to an animal communicator, which sometimes can be really helpful. And the animal communicator said that his feet were burning, although they didn't feel like they were really hot to the touch to the owner, and him being declawed. And I gave him phosphorus for that, and he was fine. And I think that the owner, the feet did feel really warm, but the animal communicator described it as they are burning him, and phosphorus really helped him. And so that's that. I mean, he's been healthy and happy, and I haven't seen him since, which is really good. You know, it's always that good, like, okay, you don't need to see me anymore. And the people are like, oh, so they're so used to allopathy. So this guy here, Mr. T, he's an 8-year-old Springer Spaniel who has severe vaccinosis, and he started having seizures at the age of 4. And he started seeing me 3 months ago, I think. And since being on his remedy, which I chose calcara carbonica for him, and he's been seizure free since the remedy. Before the remedy, he was having seizures since the age of 4, every 4 to 5 months. And then the past 6 months-ish before seeing me, it was every month. So now he's been 3 months seizure free.
That's lovely. Nice work.
Thank you.
Brenda,
And
I
this
have another
is another.
question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sorry to
No.
interrupt. In your method of prescribing and dosing for animals, is it similar like you would do for humans in terms of potency and frequency of repetition of dose, or does it work differently?
No, it works the same. So I've taken Professor Viltakis's Levels of Health course, which for me, I feel like that has helped me tremendously in prescribing. So I really look at the level of health of the animal, and I tend to dose low. I feel like I tend to always start with a 30C and then kind of figure out where I'm going to go next, if at all. In some cases, for this guy here, I chose a 12C. So it was calcara carbonica 12C, because his level of health, having the severe vaccinosis, and then the seizure activity, he's at a lower level of health. So I chose 12C. There's going to be a case at the end where you'll see, I'll talk about it, and we go up the ladder in potency. A lot of these dog or animals come to me too, having been prescribed really high potencies, and it doesn't seem to work in my experience, like right off the bat, especially. I feel like their level of health is so much lower because they're so over vaccinated. I mean, most animals that come to me, if you go back and look at their medical history, just in puppyhood alone, they'll have had like 21 shots. If you're going to take all the combo shots and then break it down into one single shot, you know, because a lot of them have like a 5-way vaccine, at least 3 times in their puppyhood. So that right there is like 15, and then they keep going. And then they'll start having the rabies vaccine anywhere between 4 and 6 months of age. So I feel like their level of health is lower. So I feel like slamming them with a high potency, especially in the beginning, it doesn't really work. I feel like going lower and assessing is better.
Juliana has a question as well.
Yeah, Brenda, quick question. Item number 10, I see generalities. I see obesity over here. And I'm looking at the picture of Mr. T. Was this picture taken before or after? I mean, he doesn't look like a plump little pigeon to me. So I just so that I understand.
Sure. Yeah, this was taken before. This is an earlier picture. Yeah.
Thanks.
And again, like I put that at so with this particular software, we go from a 0 to a 4 in severity. So like the 1, and the 0 is really for follow-ups where it's like, okay, no, now we don't see that anymore. So he was at a 1. So not a big roly-poly, but he I mean, he's 8 years old too, so he got a little chunky.
And with the same token, okay, it's not always easy in terms of that symptom picture. I think you said calc-carb was the remedy you used?
Yes.
Because I mean, calc-carb people can be kind of particular. And what is it? They're sensitive to flattery. They enjoy flattery. They are a little bit rounded out, and they're very particular too. So I mean, to find that remedy, okay, because I could see how you could prescribe it to a human, and you know, you could have that 150 questions with the human and you can bingo it, but to come across that for a dog in terms of a remedy, it's like kudos, because you know, especially for vaccinosis, there's other homeopathic remedies that a homeopathic vet would have gone to.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
would say that
so-
that would mean that Brenda's doing better work. Because giving calc-carb procedures for seizures makes total sense.
Mhm.
So I'd say Brenda's doing better work than maybe a lot of other people out there. So I am very happy to see that Mr. T is feeling better.
He
That is
is.
so
Thank
good.
you. Okay.
I like the
then
way
this-
you can rank your things so easily like this, and I like the way you grade your remedies. Nicely done.
Thank you. So this here was, I remember this, this woman called me in a panic at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Her German Shepherd was bit by a copperhead snake. So those of you that aren't aware of what a copperhead is, they're primarily in the South, and they're venomous. They will kill. So of course she was panicking, and this woman is a good client of mine, so she bought a kit from me. So it's always important, you know, I try to encourage people to have a good handful of polycrest remedies on board for times like this. So this was a lachesis case, and as you can see, within 30 minutes, the dog was fine.
That's great.
Um,
Yeah, being able
yeah.
to handle those emergencies like that is really nicely done. Very good. I'm loving it.
Good. Blurry picture,
Sanjay?
but
Oh, never mind. I was going to go off topic. Sorry.
oh, are you sure?
Yeah, no, I just get chatty.
Okay. That's okay. I like that. I like chatty. So this here, blurry picture, but this horse had chronic.
Oh, it's a
like,
horse.
respiratory- It is a horse. Look, I know it's totally blurry, but actually his owner is a naturopath, and so she contacted me because she couldn't. He's always had these just snot, always with the snot in his bucket, you know, and so he was Nat Muir. I gave him that and just a 30C potency, and he's been fine ever since. That was done, a one and done.
Lovely.
These kitties, the one on the left, the gray and white one, that's called rodent lip, and that's a before and after picture. And then the
Oh,
white kitty had sort of an upper respiratory thing going on too. Both of these cases were pulsatilla.
mm. Yeah,
And-
see what I was saying about the feral cats? They get this horrible thing in their eyes. I don't even know what it's called because, you know, I'm not a vet, right? But, you know, to be able to observe the symptoms and the behavior and things like that, you know, we can put together the correct remedy. But yeah, I mean, with the eyes all swollen and the goop, yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, so this was pulsatilla.
Yeah.
It's that
This
thing
dog-
where the nicotinating membrane is swollen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what we see here. What's it called?
So that was pulsatilla that I gave those cats.
But what's that disease called?
Oh, you're talking about that. You're talking about that rodent lip? No, what are you talking?
No, when the nicotinating membrane is swollen and the eyes are all puffy. I don't know what the
Oh,
it's
the
just
rubric?
plain. No, I was
Yeah,
just
right,
wondering
right.
if it has like a disease name. Is there a name disease for it?
I don't think so. I mean, it was just, to me, just sort of an upper respiratory. And when I honestly don't even remember if I reportized that case. I just think I saw it and said, okay, and just based on the personality of the cat.
Because cats just die like crazy over here. The feral cats, they get sick in the eyes like this and it just goops everywhere. And then they just up and die. It's got to be more than just a conjunctivitis because they just like, but anyway, that's beside the point. I was just curious.
But
if this-
I'll use a lot of Nat Muir for those kind of cases too. So either look at pulsatilla or Nat Muir for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I see what you're saying, but conjunctivitis would be more like red, itchy. So this dog here was a huge agility dog. And when he came to me, he was just diagnosed with prosthetic cysts, and he was dribbling blood on like the owner would see it on the kitchen floor. And the vet, he was diagnosed by the vet, and the vet said, well, we have to just neuter him. And he was well known and well sought after for his semen. So the owner came to me and she said, is there any hope? Can we try? And of course, right? Let's try. So those are the rubrics that I use. And he was also a pulsatilla case. I want to say within a few days. I mean, it was quick that he stopped dripping blood. He went on after to have sired, I think 4 litters after that. And he just recently passed away, but he was, I think, 14 years old. And then we eventually went to pulsatilla 200C because it just came back, so the 30C wasn't holding. So we did a dose of the 200C and then he was absolutely fine. But that was, I think, an excellent case, especially for that owner, because she didn't want to have to neuter him, and she ultimately did not have to. Okay, this dog here came to me last year, and her owner is actually a student of homeopathy.
Mhm.
The dog, her name is Dixie, and she has had, tons of antibiotics and steroids and all kinds of stuff because of vaccinosis. Owner didn't know any better.
Terrible.
Right? Owner didn't know any better. So, and she'd actually gone to other homeopaths. So she's had a huge laundry list of remedies thrown at her and all really high potencies. So when she came to me and I was reading through her history, it was really sad. And I just said, you know what, we have to take a break and come back and see me. I forget if it was like 3 weeks or a month or something. Like, we just need to clean slate her, and just start fresh. So this is how she was when she came to me. And this is how she'd been for a long, long time. So I started her with graphites. So this is a before and after. The before is on the left-hand side and the after is on the right-hand side. And you can see too, like how, sorry. Wait a minute. Like even her vulva is like super, super swollen. And now it's not.
Yeah, she was miserable, huh?
Yep. Poor thing. So now this is after. And this one, look at her feet before and after.
Now, these are remarkable results, Brenda. Felicitations. I'm just thinking, When the owners see these results, okay, obviously you're not using pharmacy on them. What's the reaction from the owners?
Oh my gosh. I mean, they want to cry sometimes. Like they will absolutely, and they're always so grateful, and they're always, of course, she's a student of homeopathy, the owner of this dog, but typically I'm the last ditch effort. It's so after they are true believers, and then they come to me for everything. Like my dog just farted the wrong way, what should I do? You know, and that's a joke, but I mean, they really become like transformed, and they really believe in homeopathy because of course there's no placebo effect in animals, right? It either works or it doesn't. So to see the animal cases, and the same with children, right? I mean, there's no placebo effect in kids either. So this is Dixie now. Like she still has some fur to go over here, but I mean, what a difference, right?
Yeah, so much better. Do you find that people then watch treatment for themselves?
Yes. Yeah. And
Good.
yeah. And so I'm able to treat humans too. And that's typically how I get my human cases is the people will go, oh my gosh, now how can you help me, or a family member? So so that's what happens. But there was something, oh, I wanted to show you, and I couldn't load it on here because technology is not my thing, but hold on. I wanted to show you one last case study, but it's a video. Hold on a second. Let me figure this out. Oh, here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Okay, now I'm going to share it again. Okay, so this is a dog that mesorium was actually the remedy, which, you know, I really took Kent's advice when he had said, never walk into a case with prejudice. You know, you walk into a case, and we all do because we're human, and go, that's a, you know, pulsatilla case or whatever. And I feel like my prescribing is so much better since taking this advice from Kent when he said, never go into a case with prejudice and always take each case individually, no matter what. That, and then also the levels of health, like incorporating that in my prescribing. So this case, never in a million years would I walk into this going, oh, that's a mesorium case. So this is because I'm challenged with technology. It's actually, you're going to see the after video first, and then you're going to see the before video. But this is pretty amazing. This dog here had panocystitis. So that is basically like inflammation of his long bone in his front legs. So watch this.
Front. Front.
So that was only a couple doses of mesorium 30C.
You got the rep on that? I'm curious.
Whoops, hold on. Okay. Did you see the video? Were you guys able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got the rep for that? I'm curious what symptoms you took.
Oh, what I repertized? Yep. Hold on a
Mhm.
second. Let me just pull it up here.
That'll be fun.
Give me 1 second. Oh, I had it. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, and then another quick question, Brenda, when you're repertising, okay, obviously the owner has some symptoms that they can verbally communicate, but I was going to ask you, what's your process in terms of observing the animal And do you also have a special process that you deploy when you're treating the animal in order, okay, to be able to repertoise and everything?
Yeah, that part, hold on a minute, let me just.
Whenever I've treated an animal, if it helps, I just observe and just see what I see and then observe the behavior and things like that, just like you would with a person.
Yeah,
You know, I rely a lot on, on just, objective observation.
because I mean, I do it with my own pets, but I've had them since puppies. So I have a lot of background information on them. And I'm just wondering, because this is quite challenging, okay, if they go to a homeopath, okay, Brenda, for example, she hasn't seen the animal before, so she has to go by what the owner says and then also through observing. So that's quite a task. I was wondering if she has any tricks to share with us.
Yeah, what are your tricks, Brenda?
I know, I don't really have, I don't know, you know what, all I can tell you, and I understand what you're saying, and I don't have any, I don't feel like I have any tricks. I just feel like I've always been in tune with animals. They're always, since I was a kid. And I don't know if that's just part of it. I can read animals pretty well. I kind of have a gift for gab, so I can kind of pull things out of people too without influencing, there are times when it can be challenging, and I just want to hit my head on my desk like, I'm not like, this is tough, but I really try to encourage the owners, like, please, when I give you the questionnaire to start with, so I start with a questionnaire, and I tell them, I'm like, don't be embarrassed, because I feel like some people are embarrassed, like, I wrote too much information. I'm like, no, that's great, like, write the book. Give me all the information that I can, that you can offer, and then I go from there. And when I go through the questionnaire, I mean, I'll highlight, and this is just how we're trained, right? We just go through and highlight and pick out bits and pieces, and then it's further. I mean, my initial consults last between an hour and 2 hours. So it's just going through the questions. I think it's funny, because when you go back in your life and you start connecting the dots of your own life, I used to be a paralegal years ago. So I don't know if that part, that training helps me too with asking questions and pulling things out. I don't know, but I wish I could. I don't have like no two cases are the same. I don't have an exact like science. So maybe I can just say that I know animals. I love animals, and I can connect and read. So this was Elvis. This was the dog with the panocystitis. And so let me go back to, I can go back into the, I think, hold on. And I'm sorry, I mean, it didn't really answer your question, but
Brenda, you have a question here about which software are you using?
so I use Viltakas Compass. So let me share this screen. Oops.
I can't spell compass, never mind.
Yeah, 2 S's.
Oh, well,
Okay.
it's Vithukas
all right.
compass.
Okay, let me.
I mean, I could barely type,
I'm trying to. It's not going into, oh, will it go into there? Can you see that? So it says Viltacus compass, and then are you seeing the same screen that I
Yeah,
have
there we
up?
go. Mhm.
So this here is Elvis. This is the dog with the panocystitis.
Mhm.
So as you can see, like phosphorus was the top remedy. But when I read about it, so, okay, let's go with this. So this is what I ultimately chose, and that's what worked. Okay. He had that once. And so these were my notes. It worked beautifully for the pano, no more pain, no more limping since he's been on the remedy. I told her to stop it. And then see that the owner, she started working. She wanted to work on her own stuff, but hold on. So, you know, when we look at this remedy, there's only, I put in 9 symptoms and only 3, but so when I open it up, this Viltacus compass, I'm able to look at George Viltacus's Materia Medica, Boricki, Kent, Allen. Then I have Clark and I have Herring. So oftentimes I will look at, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 different Materia Medicas when I'm trying to choose a remedy. So that's what I did with this case. I went in and looked at other Materia Medicas, and then it was like, okay, this really fit because of the long bone. Oh, and I think he had lumbar pain too. And just very like intolerant to touch. But also the tibia, the long bone is affected. And so this was just a 30C potency.
Oh, you had a question. Somebody was asking how you give remedies to animals, whether or not you make it into a spray bottle or if you just put it in their water or whatnot. There was a question there.
So I typically, what I will do is instruct the client to give the remedy via a dry dose. If they can't, so I always say, you know, put it in the cap, and if you can, open the dog's mouth or even the cat's mouth and just kind of chuck the remedy to the back of their throat, hold their nose, point their nose to the ceiling, and they should swallow it. It's very sweet, right? If they can't do that, then I'll teach them how to make an aqueous solution and give it to them that way, you know, with a dropper if they can. Of course, we're always instructed not to give with food. However, I treat all species of animals. I'm not going to stick my hand in a pig's mouth or, you know, sometimes even horses, it's difficult. So I will put it in a tiny smidge of food, just something a little, something soft. And it hasn't made a difference in healing. They still recover quite nicely. So I do instruct, don't give it in their meal, but kind of worst case scenario, then they can do it, you know, with just a little piece of food. I don't really like it in the water dish, only because I feel like they're not gonna, they might get the dose throughout the day, but you know, what if you have a pulsatilla case, for instance, and they're just thirstless? So it's kind of hard to get that water, get them to drink out of their water bowl, for instance. Or if it's a multi-animal household, then, you know, I just want to be certain that that dog, for example, is actually getting the remedy. So I like dry dosing first and then go to aqueous solution, and then worst case scenario, put it in a little pinch of food, a little treat.
Did that answer your question? Yep. Okay, he's good.
So that's what I have to share for cases. I've got many, many more cases, but that's what I kind of wanted to, you know, I just start with some. And the Dixie. So we started her with a 30C, and just as time went on, I'll change remedy if it kind of peters out. So, and if she still fits that, she still fit a graphite picture, but say the 30C, she was not, there was no more improvement. So then I would go to a 200C. And that's how I work with changing potency. So, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. I noticed you include a couple of mind rubrics, and I wanted to ask you, in humans, like for example, mind biting people would be really unusual, right? Extremely rare. We would pay a lot of attention to it. But for a puppy who's teething and they're biting people, is that something that you would take into account, or would you say it's not really important because they're teething or they think that they're playing? Like, how do the mind rubrics work for animals?
Mhm. That's an excellent question. So if they were teething, then I wouldn't take that into consideration. And also breed specific. So sometimes there'll be a breed that it's like, you know what, that's just part of their breed, you know, so I'm not going to include that. I would include if it was something unusual for that dog and not necessarily breed specific.
Thank you.
I can go into a couple aggression cases. I got a lot of aggression cases too. So, you know, where we're dealing more with mind. And these are almost always vaccinosis cases.
I have a funny story of a case of another, yet again, yard feral cat. Every once in a while, the city comes by and they pick up as many cats as they can find, and they spay them and they vaccinate them. And then they return them to the same location. And one of the cats who'd been hanging around our yard, she was so vicious when I found her. And she'd had, I could tell that she'd been picked up by the city. She'd been missing for a number of days, but that wasn't totally bizarre because, you know, she'd had her ear clipped and her stomach was shaved and she had suture marks. So we know obviously that what had happened. So I took her symptoms. She was so vicious, and I gave her some Lachesis, and it really calmed her down. It really did, because, you know, she'd had a surprise hysterectomy and she'd been vaccinated and she was vicious, but vicious no longer after. But I did put medicine in water for her because, you know, she's a feral cat.
Yeah.
So I just set out a bowl, you know. But
And
for humans, I only do water dosing also. So, but I wasn't going to touch that cat and say, let's wrap you in a towel and let's put a pellet in your mouth. I'm like, here, we'll just set out water for you, which is a little harder now because now we have a pond. Anyway,
yeah, in that situation, I would definitely just put it in the water, you know, if.
Do you remember, Tikwa? What we have prescribed for my German Shepherd when you are here? And he was eating tomatoes. And Tikwa said, tomato, he is eating tomato and this is specific for Ferromet. Right? And Ferromet was prescribed. Right?
Yeah.
And he was a really big dog.
Yeah, he was a beauty.
And he was a German Shepherd?
German Shepherd, yeah. And
that's what I have.
I don't actually, he expired last couple of years back. But
He
he
sure
was,
did.
he lived for near about 12 years.
Wow.
And actually he had got an injury and from which he haven't recovered. And then I think he had some brain or say paralysis type symptom, and then he died.
Yeah, I mean, he had gangrene with maggots and he had neurological symptoms, and we did our best. We did. We tried our hardest. We really did. Right, Sanjay?
Yeah.
We worked hard to try to save Rex.
Oh,
I've got pictures on my computer somewhere of his feet. Terrible.
yeah. And German Shepherds, it's hard too, because, you know, most of them are predisposed to a lot of like gut issues. And so it's hard because in vaccinosis, one of the number one symptoms of vaccinosis is allergies. So, you know, that's a common thread, is that they have these allergies and then the people go to the vet for that. And then the vets prescribe antibiotics and steroids. And then we go in this vicious cycle of that. But then if you have a dog, you know, like a German Shepherd or bulldogs, you know, they come to mind. They have a lot of skin issues anyway. And so it's hard. I have a German Shepherd too, but he's not vaccinated. He had one parvo shot and one distemper shot from his breeder, and that was it. So let me show you this case here. This is a 1-year-old. Hold on a minute.
Oh, Vijay Shri wants to know what you gave. Oh, it was Natmir, Vijay Shri. It was Natmir.
So this here is a 1-year-old Great Pyrenees, and
Oh,
he's been over vaccinated, and
I don't have a picture of an animal to look at.
no, sorry.
Oh, there's no animal to picture? Oh, okay.
No, I was just, I know,
All
right?
Okay.
So here we go with the mind. That's why I wanted to pull this one up. And that was it. All I did was mind. I mean, it was a clear case of belladonna. So, but this dog would chew holes in the walls.
Oh,
He
dear.
would, yeah, scrape his teeth on the floors. He would bite and really scare the owners. They had, or they have like a pen in their kitchen for him. And sometimes he would scare them so bad that they would get in the pen. Like it's like an X pen. So
That's terrible.
right. So he was on belladonna, and you know, when we did our follow-up, she said, I don't know, I don't think it worked. And then she said, well, I don't know, maybe it did, but in all honesty, we really didn't give the remedy. And I think they gave like 1 dose or something. And I wanted a couple low potency doses in him. And then we met back like a couple of weeks later, and she said, oh my gosh, completely different dog. He's so different, and still different now, like better, no longer chewing holes in the walls, no longer biting. But so, you know, to answer the question about the mind, so look at here, like obstinate children. So he's a puppy, really. So I'll often use children rubrics if I have a younger animal. that I'm
Well,
working
yeah,
with.
I mean, it is a baby animal, so it's really kind of the same.
Yeah.
For sure.
And he would too. He would hide. He would hide a lot. So he really was a beautiful, clear-cut case of belladonna. So
That's really nice. I love it. This is fun.
Praveen has a question. Praveen, turn on your camera and you can ask. Praveen is there?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir. I have a question. When we'll treat large animals like buffalo, cows, the acute cases like abdomen distension due to overfeeding some poisonous plants that if they had that time sudden distension of abdomen, we can see that's the emergency. Otherwise we cut and open its stomach, we can release the gas. Otherwise, is there any remedies to treat in that condition? Because I am getting more cases here in my area.
Oh, yeah. Boninghausen talks about that in his lesser writings about every colchicum. He says that
Mhm.
colchicum is a near specific for that kind of bloat.
Okay.
Large animals have that fatal distension of abdomen. If they are not treated quickly, the animal dies.
Yeah, so Bonninghausen tells us his story about how all the things on his farm and neighbor farms in the springtime, they eat too much clover, etc., etc., and that he gives colchicum and it gives very, very fast results.
And one more thing, madam. I have since from last 3-4 years, I am seeing infertility in large animals, especially in buffaloes. It could be the nutritional deficiency, and I know that here they are using more the scientific way. They are saying than artificial insemination. I think that may be a cause for infertility. Any thoughts on these things? How
Yeah,
we
I
can
mean,
maintain?
yeah, that's tough too, because, I would start with the conditions, the living conditions, and then nutrition, and then see, look at pulsatilla. That's a good female remedy. But I would start with, nutrition. That is hard. I used to breed Great Danes, and I was a naturally reared breeder, so they all were not vaccinated, and I raw fed, and they were treated homeopathically, when needed. And I know that my girls always had huge litters, like 11 to 17 puppies in a litter. So I would, and I always try to tell people too, that the more you use homeopathy, the less you're going to need it, right? Because it always brings the body back into balance, right? So I would start with the nutrition, and then just kind of take case by case. What did you say? The buffalo, water buffalo?
Buffalo.
Yeah. So, and see if you can, take one case at a time and see where that particular female, if you can prescribe a remedy and see if she'll turn around that way and just come back into balance. And pulsatilla too, I mean, it has a great affinity on hormones. The sepia does too. So if they're, really cranky, then maybe consider that, look at that remedy and see if it fits.
Okay. And I am getting more complications in skin diseases of small animals like cat, dog. Any suggestion in this particular?
So I'll get a lot of skin cases too. And I do believe that it is, the root cause is from vaccinosis, because then that'll cause allergies. And then we have the disruption of the gut, because then they're prescribed antibiotics, steroids. So I always try to also support with, again, good nutrition. I'll ask, what are you feeding your cat or your dog? We always go over the nutrition. And then I will offer some supplements that will help build the gut. So typically it'll be like a good bovine colostrum and a good probiotic to start, and then whatever remedy. And again, I take each case individually. So I have skin cases every single day from all over the world. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. All these animals are being over vaccinated, and it's the same vicious cycle, so I will take every case individually and see what remedy. I mean, there's a lot of like arsenicum cases and sulfur and things like that, but you want to my advice is to take the case separately and see what remedy best fits that animal.
I have a question. Oh, okay. Thank you. When you say, and you see a lot of ailments after vaccination, do you see ailments after taking flea and tick medication? Because I have a golden retriever puppy who's the sweetest, most passive loving dog. And I think I made the mistake of allowing the vet to give him flea and tick medication. And I saw the change in behavior the next 2 days. Immediately, he started biting and he was resource guarding, nothing like what he was before. I mean, the effect didn't last. It lasted only a couple of days, but it was soon after the medication. So I was just wondering if you saw those effects as well, or if they're longer lasting, or should, I do something about it, even though the effects didn't last.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And when I have a consult, the initial consult with the client, we'll also go over flea and tick and heartworm medication. All of those have side effects, and most, if not all, have behavioral side effects. Some of them cause seizures. So we will also go over that. And yeah, so there's safe, effective alternatives that you can use for flea and tick prevention. There's different sprays coming to mind. There's one called Kin and Kind, K-A-N and K-I-N-D, Kin and Kind. That's a good brand. It's safe. It is effective. So
I have something to say along those lines. A friend of mine who has a farm, she started using Bach flower crabapple to get rid of fleas and ticks that were really, really prevalent and, becoming a major problem. And she said it worked really, really well. So you might want to look along the lines like that too. Crabapple.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, but these things are so toxic, and then, it goes through their skin and it goes through their system and they lick themselves, and it's a problem. But of course, we do want to have clean and hygienic animals in our homes.
Yeah.
That's when I had my aha moment. This is going back, I don't know, 20 years or so. And I had Great Danes and I used Frontline on them. And I remember yelling at my kids, like, don't hug the dogs, don't hug the dogs. I just put the Frontline on them. And literally the light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're poisoning the
dog.
animal and you're scared you're going to poison your kids. So yeah, it's time to make a change.
Yep. And I did, but it was at the moment I was like, wow. Yeah. And I used to vaccinate. So my story is when I was 9 years old, I used to have a paper route, and on that paper route, there were 2 Irish wolfhounds. And I saw these dogs and I was in awe, and I was like, oh, someday I'm going to get them. And then shortly thereafter, I met a Great Dane, and I was like, oh, there's my dog. I'm going to get a Great Dane. So this is at 9 years old. When I was 25, I finally got a Great Dane, and I was going to take the best care of that dog ever. So I brought him to the vet for everything, and I fed him pedigree, which is a horrible food, but the vet said it was a really good food. And so I did it, and I lost my dog at 3 years old. He ended up getting lymphoma, and he died. And I was horrified. I was crushed. It was the worst experience. But because of that experience, he opened up my world. And so I was like, I've got to do better, So I started learning, and I started learning about nutrition and homeopathy right at the same time. So, and I haven't stopped. And I honestly feel like our animals come to us as teachers, and he was my teacher dog. So if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. And he sent me on this journey, and that's how I became a homeopath. So yeah, It's interesting.
Brenda,
Anybody
it's the
else?
same thing with me. They don't call him the heartbreak hound for nothing. I had Curry. He was my first hound. And I would have walked him home from Gatineau if I needed to. And I had such a connection with that dog. It was just so uncanny. And it was the same way. You trust the veterinarians, and these were conventional veterinarians, so you think you're doing the right thing. And that's when I realized that not all vets are the same. And that's when I started, getting in with DNM and the whole new world of homeopathic vets, holistic vets, the true meaning of integrated medicine. So now they can't pull the wool over your eyes. And I wish I would have known then what I know now, because it makes a huge world of difference. That was my journey as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I love hearing
Uh,
people's aha moment stories where they kind of like the light bulb goes on and they're like, yeah, I love those stories. Thanks for sharing.
So I had an Irish Wolfhound case that comes to mind, speaking of Irish Wolfhounds, and the woman came to me as a last ditch effort. This dog had spinal stenosis, and she didn't tell me this, and I'm really glad she didn't tell me this, but if I hadn't helped the dog, then she was going to put him down. So she came to me, I reportized his case, and it wasn't until, so I'm asking questions, and I said, so he's in pain. And I said, does he choose to lay on soft bedding or the hard floor? She said, the weirdest thing, he loves to lay on the hard floor. I said, Nat Muir. So I prescribed him Nat Muir. And as I'm talking to her about how to administer the remedy, she, in conversation, which I never would have thought to ask this, but she said something about, and he loves his favorite treat, the little mint puffs, like the peppermint puff minty things. And I said, oh my gosh, you can't give him those, not on that, especially not on Nat Muir, no mint. And I said, he's going to hate me, but you can't give him those little puffy treats anymore while he's on the remedy. So she gave him the remedy and he's fine. He even went back to the chiropractor, and chiropractor saw a huge difference. And ultimately, thankfully, she didn't have to put him down, and he's still around today.
Mhm.
And I think he's back to eating his little puffy mints, but I thought that was just interesting about, questions that you don't think to ask an animal client. Do they eat mint? So are there any other questions?
Recently, me and Sanjay sir treated this one tick fever. We get a wonderful result in that condition. The platelets also goes down, and bleeding inside the stomach and intestine. And within a span of week, we get a good result, ma'am. I tried on dog also.
So you saw a good result with what remedy?
Marxwala I given.
And I think we had also used asafoetida for the foul, offensive smelling the gases.
Yes.
Kindly repeat what you said, the remedy name. I didn't quite catch it.
Asafoetida. Can you type 1 minute?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think I have a case presentation. Just I will check if I have in my phone.
This is
Sanjay sir?
amazing because you customarily get to know the common 50 remedies, then the 100 remedies. Okay, and I'm hearing some remedies here I haven't heard of, so thank you for sharing. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, Trisha has a question.
Okay. Man, I'm gonna have to see you. So here's my question. And I'm not gonna ask a diagnostic question. I'm gonna ask a working with question. I have a kitty who has skin issues. I posted a little bit in the chat with him forever, and he only got his shelter shots, and he actually came from a drug lab arrest. Like they arrested a drug dealer, and he was with a whole bunch of other kitties who most of them all were killed, but we saved him. And he has had skin issues forever, and this is going on 7 years now. And initially we did traditional vet stuff, and he was on steroids and he was on antifungals and all that. And my question is, he's not now, of course, and hasn't been back since, and he has a raw diet and gets, gut healing herbs and all kinds of other things. And I see a chiropractor and we muscle test for homeopathy and herbals, but still chews himself to death, skin issues and skin allergies. So my question is, do you work with people? Yes, with that, but also like I'm intuitive and I'm trained as a medical intuitive, but it's really hard on my own animals. Go figure. But if I'm talking with somebody and they say, well, it might be this and this and this, and they can narrow it down, I can usually feel intuitively, okay, it's the second one or it's the third one. And are you willing to work with someone like that? Because some doctors won't. They're like, their view is the view and that's it. But I use my guides and talk and stuff. It's just that being so close to your own animals, it's tricky. I can do it so easily for other people's animals, but not my own.
Mhm. Yeah, I've had some clients that are like that. I mean, I feel like I'm intuitive too, but I also feel like I've had 6 years of formal education in homeopathy, and there is a science behind it, and there's a technique that I respect, and although I do respect intuitiveness, but I feel like if, and I've had cases like this, if there are two remedies, for example, that it's like, oh, it could be this and it could be this, then if you want a muscle test, then you can do that. But knowing that there is definitely, a science behind what we do. I know that there are some, I don't know if they're homeopaths or what, but there are some that will, that's the only way that they'll prescribe, period, without even taking the case. And I don't believe in that. I believe that there is a method to this, but there's also some like intuitive, like, when somebody had asked before about animals, and is there any, and I kind of feel like this with homeopathy too. There's no straight line, there's always shades of gray. So I feel like I'm more comfortable like taking the case and doing it that way. And then if there's a couple remedies that are right on the fence, then for sure you can do that, do like a muscle testing for it.
Yeah, I would say that
I don't muscle test. I just want to say that I'm intuitive and I'm very good because I can test something in my mind and then check it on the bioresonance and it'll come up exactly what I just said. So I know I can do that, but I appreciate what you're just saying. So if you narrow it down to, I trust you 100% too. That's why I'm like, I would go and see you as a client, and refer people to you. But I also want to have the, are you willing to let me intuit some things too? So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of homeopaths, including myself, tend to be rather intuitive. And but we have to do the work and do the science-based work, and I might come across as being like very methodical about how we have to do this, that, the other, and things just in the right way according to all the rules and applications. But being intuitive does not prevent us from following all the directions and staying within the framework. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
We can get better results that way, even though we're intuitive.
Right. And I agree with you. And I agree, and that's why in the beginning I was saying, I'm really happy that I read that passage from James Kent about don't go into a case with prejudice, don't go in, hey, it's an Atmir case, and here you go. Like, unless it's an emergency that you're like, okay, we don't have time. Like, this is definitely, Natmir or belladonna, for instance, or something. But if we have some time to reportize the case, go in and reportize the case and do it right. And so many times since doing that, I go in with that prejudging, this is a, whatever case. And then I reportize it correctly. And then I'm like, wow, never would think of that. Like the mesorium that I used for that panocystitis case. Never in a million years would I have thought off the top of my head that it would be that remedy. And it was, and it helped that dog with just a couple doses of that remedy. And it was done in a 30C. So.
As we should expect. And that's very good work. And that's what we should be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm liking that.
I don't have the chat open, so I can't see
Okay.
it.
Karina says, is somebody at Homeopathy Without Borders? So go ahead and
yay.
talk, Karina.
I've seen you. I just couldn't place you. And you're so friendly, you're so sweet. I'm like, I've heard her voice. I know I've seen her. But yeah, I think I attended one of the, or I at least viewed one of the Homeopath Without Borders seminar, and I think you were there. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're in Canada.
Who's at Homeopathy Without Borders?
I was.
Trisha.
Oh, nice.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm,
good.
I'm not a homeopath, just for the record. I'm in the closet, man. but I have huge respect for you all. And I don't want to be a practitioner. Like, I would actually want to ask, if you are a lay person and you still want to know stuff just to be educated and to actually be able to inform other people, or even, like I would help with the legislation and stuff too, because I'm good at explaining things. But where would you start? Would you need to be to follow a practitioner path? I don't want to get into the health. I feel like our climate right now is, I'll just educate stuff, but I don't do bioresonance on other people's paths. I don't do any herbalism, and I know a ton, but I don't want to help because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be practicing medicine without a license because I don't have any of that stuff. I do my little bioresonance sometimes on someone for free, and then I'll send them to a chiropractor, a holistic vet, a homeopath if I can find one, to help them out, because I want to help people, but I don't charge money, and I'll even give them the remedies for free. If I have the remedies, I just give it to them for free, but I want to refer them to somebody
Where
else.
are you? Where are you in America?
I'm in Florida. And I
Okay.
see, like, my holistic vet is Dr. Marlene Siegel, but she's never used homeopathy. She's kind of far away. Like, I literally go to the chiropractor down the street because he muscle tests. So I'll do it on the machine, bioresonance. Then I'll take in the scan and he'll muscle test it. Then we'll get some remedies together and stuff. And 99% of the time it works fabulous. And he doesn't charge. So it's like, it's a free visit. I already have the remedies and I just need to know what to give. So,
Because what I think you could probably get away with is just giving homeopathic advice, which is pretty much the way people have to work in the United States anyway. So I think that you should be able to, even, just without like registering or whatnot, be able to give advice and, charge whatever fee for your time. If you feel comfortable with that, I think you should be
if
fine.
they want to learn more, who do they study with? Who do they study homeopathy with? I literally I have no idea. I mean, I know.
So it depends what kind of program you want. There's a great school in Toronto. They also offer online education, so you could do it in the comfort of your own home. If you're willing to, to go the full route. They have Introduction to Homeopathy, which is just a few months course. If you just want to learn homeopathy for yourself and your family, and maybe just for friends, that's just a few months course. You don't have to do the whole 3.5 years to get certification. They're an amazing school. Love them. They're super nice. So if you want to go that route, and reasonable pricing is to enroll. The other thing you can do is you can team up with a wellness coach or a holistic practitioner in your area. Maybe say, this is what I want to do. I'd like to come in a few times a week when I have time. or I can do it online. I can consult in homeopathy and maybe do that kind of advice too, and work with somebody, you know, and do it your way. I think the one thing about homeopathy, which is great, is we can find the way we want to do it. We can teach, we can practice, we could volunteer. You know, there's so many different avenues to do it. But yeah, if you're talented and you've got the interest, go ahead. There's so many options.
Yeah, we need more homeopaths out here.
We do.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at the way that everything's going downhill so badly all the way around the world. Ooh, we have entered into the deep twilight zone. We
Yeah,
need
one of the-
homeopaths.
One of the things that I've realized is ever since DNM, because most of our vets are homeopathic vets, you get to know all of this stuff. So you end up being the go-to person in the neighborhood. And then, you know, you walk your dogs at the same time. So you end up chatting with each other and you share the stories. Oh, that word, what do you give for your dog? Oh, you use this, you don't use that. And then the word just starts to spread, and then people tend to use it. And they realize that it's remarkable results, because I had one neighbor here and she had an old dog, but I swear to God, I could tell that dog had thyroid problems and some other things. And there was a cruel vet, shouldn't practice, told her that she needed to put down the dog. And she came to me with her dog because I knew Mimi. Okay, she just lives maybe about two houses down, Veronique. And then I looked at her and I says, well, if that's what the vet said, I see you're not ready for it. You want to give something a try. Sure, shooting it was nux vomica. She went into the garbage and ate the leftover skin of the ham. Okay, that came out. The dog was bouncing around. So she says, my God, you're a miracle worker. No, simple little remedies. And the nice thing also is that it opens up, you know, to great friendships and the sense of community also.
Mhm. Lovely.
Cool.
Do you all, since you mentioned the vaccine stuff several times, do you have resources that you recommend to people for education? And I'm actually, well, mostly talking about animals, but I like to hint around on the other one too. And I don't touch it with anybody these days, but with animals, I usually will try to like at least inform people not to get tighter testing and not to over vaccinate them. But are there resources you refer to? I basically am asking, how do I oppose the brainwashing? Because people are so, even if it's an indoor animal and never goes outside, they still over vaccinate. And I know better, but I had a loss years ago. So that's why I know better.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, MVIC has always been a good source for human vaccination. But Brenda, what do you recommend for vaccine education for animals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
Maybe we can
Dr.
put it in the
Karen,
chat bar.
yeah, he's got a lot of information out there about over vaccinating. I do a lot of webinars for Dogs Naturally magazine. And I recently did one about vaccinosis. But let me see. But Dr. Pitcairn, he's got,
Oh, Pitcairn, I know him.
is it clicking? I don't know.
No, it didn't. Pitcairn, I know who he is. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
this guy. He's an old
So-
friend of my dad's.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Oh, maybe I'm just, I don't know.
I spelled it wrong, of course.
Everything.
Ah,
Yeah.
I can find him on Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah, so
he's really
he-
nice.
No, I would start there. Mhm.
I'm gonna look
yeah,
up
I
how
would
to
start
spell his
there.
name right. Oh, you got it. Okay, thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so
And then
he's really
also,
nice. I've known him, I met him when I was younger, and he's an old friend of my dad's, and definitely he is a real go-to person for Pitcairn he's yeah, definitely.
Mhm. And that's another vet, Dr. Don Hamilton. I would start there and see. So I can I put my website in the chat box?
Yes, please.
I am so going to refer somebody to you who has one of the worst cases of allergies and skin issues on a cat that I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I cried when I saw these photos. So I would absolutely love, that's that lady in Alabama. And someone posted someone else too. So I'll look both of those, but I would love to refer her to somebody because that cat, oh, she needs help. And she's out
Well,
not in the-
Brenda's here to help you.
Yeah, I would love to refer because if you can help that cat, this lady, she does rescue and she would be over the moon.
Well, thank you.
The
Yeah,
only
I'm
thing I
always-
wanted to say, also what we learned, and I got this from Dr. Pat Jordan, who's a homeopathic vet. She was teaching us, okay, Ilya Mechnikov, I left a link there. He's the forefather of immunity. He's the one that talked about innate and acquired immunity and herd immunity. So when we start to learn a little bit more as to biologically how our immunity works and how to strengthen and enhance it, that's when people start to get a little bit of the aha moment as to, oh, I'm putting synthetics into an organic body, but when they inoculate me, they have heavy metals in there that diminish my immunity. Okay, that's when they're beginning to make that connection and start to understand, because especially, of course, Trish, we understand today that Bach's word is like a 4-letter word and there's a lot of hot controversy over it.
Yeah.
And that's a good question. Is there a Facebook group that everybody's connected with? Because this was really a cool presentation.
If you
Thank
go to our, do you have Instagram?
No, I cut that out. I cut out Twitter. I cut out Instagram. I just kept Facebook. You know, I tried
Okay.
to diminish a little bit. I mean, I'm connected with Brenda.
Okay.
So
If you go to Facebook, our Facebook page is, it's got this logo on it. Or Sanjay, can you show her the logo? And it's
Yeah, it's
Homeopathy
World.
for Humanity.
Okay.
And Sanjay's going to show you what our logo looks like, because somebody else has used the same, what's it called? But we have like, I don't know, quite a few. When twice a week, we're doing various activities like this.
You
Generally.
can look
One
at that
word,
logo.
Homeopathy for Humanity, and it's a .org, right?
Yeah, but we don't currently have our website up right
Oh,
now. But
okay.
yes, we're still here though. But you go to our YouTube and you see we have a lot of videos, but it's all about humans and homeopathy. But we have a lot of
Yeah, but,
videos and we're trying to put out a lot more content. You
Juliana
talk about
asked-
that, Sanjay.
Juliana is asking about if there is any group that Brenda has, so we can connect. Right.
Yeah, Brenda, what's your group
Oh.
information?
Okay, so my Facebook business page is just Wellness Matters. I think you can get to it at Animal Homeopath. But I also have a group that I just started, and it's called hold on. I think it's Homeopathy for Animals and Their People. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up so we can click on it.
Yeah, there we go. Let me put it in. Oops. This is my Facebook group.
Okay.
Homeopathy. Homeopathy for Animals and Their People.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Sharon is going, I think. Thank you, sir, for attending.
Yes, thank you for attending. Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to get on with my day back here on the West Coast, but thank you. That was really, really interesting. You do a lot of good work, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye
And
for now.
thank you so much, Brenda, for
Thank you.
coming and joining us today and giving this informational presentation and chatting with us and everything. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
been
you
fun.
so much for inviting me. Thank you. I
Yep.
really appreciate it.
And then this will be available for people to watch on the YouTube channel, if you want to refer somebody else to it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.
And we have that
Have a
our
good day.
page, our Facebook page, and we will share this video recording over there. And you can also share. You can go. Tikwa, can you share that link of the Homeopathy for Humanity page, Facebook?
I can try. It's so hard to use multiple screens for me, you know?
I know, me too. I get lost.
You can just share.
Just give me a second. I'm gonna get to it. I'm working on it. Okay, so how do I share it?
You do not have an option to share.
How exactly do you want me to share it? I don't understand. I have it up, I have it pulled up on my Facebook, and now what?
Close all of your
Share your
windows
screen.
and share screen, horizontal scroll bar highlighted in green on the bottom, right in the center. You should see it. Or just copy paste the link into the chat box, and that should be good enough.
Okay. I can get right back to the right Zoom page. There we go.
I
Okay.
sent the link. I
You
sent
did
the
it?
link.
Well,
Oh,
thanks,
thank you.
Sanjay. But I have the, you're so much more
I sent
efficient
the
with
link,
these
madam.
things than
Just
I
open
am.
it.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, and then you said that we can share a screen.
You can share. Actually, I cannot share my screen because I am on a different monitor.
Well, I'm not sure that
Okay,
I can
let me
share my
try.
screen at all. Oh dear.
Let me check if this works.
I mean, it's giving me Chrome and then it's telling me that I'm on Zoom, and that's all it's telling me. I
It's-
guess okay, hang on. Let's give this a second. I might have it. I might have it. You guys see my screen?
Oh,
Coming. You're good.
finally.
Okay. It's gonna take, oh, it's so slow. Well, eventually it should load.
Think poor connection.
Yeah.
You might have another window open and it could be searching for which window you want open.
It says that low system resources are affecting my audio quality now too.
Oh, here
Oh,
it comes.
there we go.
Oh, login. Where is it's loading?
Yeah, it's loading.
Yeah. Maybe once everybody's off, then you'll have more.
Yeah, internet is a bit slow.
Yeah.
And we have decent internet where we live, but
Let me
You
try
know.
then.
you try. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Here we
Okay.
go.
Nice. And that's the
So-
Facebook page? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go and search for Homeopathy for Humanity page.
But it's this one. There's more than one because people have used the same.
I sent the link also. Just you can
Right.
use that link. You can get the direct.
Praveen Kumar has already fixed our problem. He
Close
sorted the
chat
issue.
box. Okay,
Now
copy.
I'm like, now I'm just stuck here waiting for my camera to come back so that I can stop
Okay.
sharing my page. I'm sorry, guys.
I actually have to hop off because I've got a case at 2 o'clock my time. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
hop off, but thank you so much. And
Thank
we'll be
Okay,
in
I'm
touch.
back.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Take care.